Hey folks, welcome to the channel, and in this case I want to talk about the famous European survival kit, the French survival kit, the English survival kit, whatever survival kit you want to think of. Okay, consider that one and consider the things that are listed there, all of which I think make perfect sense, from the food to the water, radio, first aid kit, Victorinox, all of that is fantastic. But then I also want you to consider the things that are not mentioned in the survival kit, all right? As always, if you honestly want to learn more about preparedness and survival, this is definitely the right place. I've been doing this for a very long time. Not only have I been doing this for a very long time, I've gone through many of these things that scare people so much, right? And having been through these things, I can share with you that knowledge. I do it through the channel. I do it through my books as well. Surviving the Economic Collapse over there, based on the economic meltdown of Argentina, political meltdown, president resigning, 5 different presidents in less than 2 weeks, and all of the insanity that some people mostly associate with Hollywood movies. Well, those things have happened, and I've gone through it. I share my experience with you through that book. Over 1,200 reviews in Amazon. My latest book is this one, 3 Survival Skills, where, I don't know, man, I sometimes think that the title is not as accurate because it is basically a compendium of survival skills that are necessary for the world in which we live in. Everything from pest controls to washing clothes when there's no power, hand sanitizing. By the way, this was pre-COVID, all right? This was pre-COVID, okay? This means that preparedness makes sense. This means that preparedness works. And a lot of the book, right? How to improvise a burner for cooking when there's no power, a bunch of things that people, and a lot of it is, yes, about self-defense. A lot of it is about using firearms, about using blades, about using knives, improvised weapons, using all of that stuff for self-defense. Why is it that I write about that? Because having gone through that, I know how important that is. I get it. I like the idea of having 3 days worth of food, probably a lot more, water, all of these things that they explain, all of the content of the different survival lists, the survival kits and whatnot, all of that is great. But if I have to be completely honest with you, I've never been in a situation where I felt that my life was at risk because I was missing a bit more water, even though I had a good amount of it stored for the different situations. Having the water stored, having the water filters, and all of these things, yes, I've used them all. When there was power outages, I've used the flashlights, the candles, everything. All of these things, yeah, for sure. But if I have to be completely honest, on the occasions in which I felt that if I haven't had that thing with me, I would not even be here now, it would be those. Not specifically those, would probably be my Glock or my 1911 back in the day, or whatever it is that I had. Those would be the things that if I'm completely honest, I don't know if I would be here or not, right? My Versa 9mm, right? Thunder 9. Those are the things that in those moments, I don't know if I would be here if I didn't have those tools and the knowledge so as to use it properly in those situations, okay? And you don't need to be dramatic about it. It is what it is. And, in many cases, it's about being armed, and that is often enough. In more than one occasion, it will be the case that they see someone that is armed, they leave. They jump into your backyard or try to open a door, and they see a gun pointed at their face, and they leave. That's often the case. Okay? So it's not as if what you see in Hollywood, everything is a damn, die-hard battle. No, that's really not how it's very quick, it's fast, and it's often the case of if you react fast enough, you can avoid having to end up going to the following step. But sometimes you don't have an option. And in those cases, you need the tool and you need the knowledge to go along with it. Now, I have these guns here because these are basically legal everywhere. Wherever it is that you happen to be, you have the ability to own one of these in Europe or whatever country that has more or less restrictive gun laws. I get it. I know how it is. I've been around and lived in different countries, owned guns in different countries as well. I know how this is. But I also know that people assume things wrong. People assume that you cannot have things that you can. That shotgun over there, that's a Mossberg 500 ATP, I believe it is. So it's a tactical police model, and that is legal in England, in UK. Actually, that's where it comes from, okay? So this is an English legal Mossberg 500. It has a 24-inch barrel. It has sights as if it was a rifle. It is surprisingly accurate with slugs. But you have a 7+ round magazine capacity, 7 in a tube, 1 in a chamber, and with ammunition, whatever it is you feed the thing with, it's going to put a big old hole wherever you shoot. And we can debate, and I've done videos about buckshot and this and that. Okay, whatever the thickest thing is you can shoot, go with that. But if you can't, go with whatever it is. It is still a 12-gauge shotgun that will put a pretty big hole at close range in whatever is coming after you. And that's exactly what you want, because there's no substitute for that when you need it. Again, if I have to be completely honest on what is it that actually saved, it would be that. It would be being armed in the moment that I needed to be armed. The rest of the things, it's been more a matter of being in more comfortable, being able to take a shower when there was no water, having lights when power was out, and staying warm when there was a power outage, or whatever the case may be. I've never felt that anything was as necessary in those moments as the ability to defend myself. That's why in Surviving the Economic Collapse, pretty much half the book is about security and self-defense, because of the kidnapping, because of the crime, because of the civil unrest, because of the widespread looting and anarchy. And this is people. People do these things, no matter how civilized you are. Look, we saw how people behaved in Spain recently with a blackout. Yeah, everyone was happy, cheering, drinking their beers and having a good time, and everything's gonna be okay. And yeah, that is super healthy. That was actually very much correct. That's exactly what happened. But I can tell you also that if that had not been the case, if it had been 24 hours and then 27 and 30 something and 48 hours, you would have seen people change a lot. And I mean a lot. There's essential differences in societies, cultural ones, different countries, different continents. You have different ideas of what civilized behavior is, and some places are more volatile than others. Some societies, even among Western societies, some are more likely to start looting and start committing crimes right away, right? We know that, we get that. But no matter what the case is, if enough time goes by, you will see the worst of people. Doesn't matter if it's in Spain, in the United States, in Chile, in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, or in Japan, in Fukushima, or wherever it is. You will see people act in a more animalistic manner when pushed far enough. And that's where these things come in. So have the generator. I have the all powers generator, by the way, combined with the solar panel. Fantastic. I'll leave links for those things below. I can't leave links for those. These you will have to procure yourself, all right? But I'm telling you right now, these are things you want to take care of before you need them, because there's no substitute. I can improvise pretty much, a lot of things. I can improvise a stove. I don't need a Trangia stove. I can improvise one with a tuna tin. You can improvise sources of light. There's a ton of interesting things you can do in preparedness as to improvise or get around. But there's no substitute for these things. Again, these legal no matter where you look at. That's legal in UK, same as a shotgun. Maybe that's a little bit shorter. A 22 rifle, preferably semi-automatic. This is a nice one in 22 Magnum, a little bit more power. But whatever it is, the legislation that you're dealing with, there is no doubt that unless you're living in an absolute shithole, there is something you can legally own. Oh, but I'm not allowed to own it for self-defense. Okay, don't own it for self-defense. Can you have a 22 semi-automatic carbine for target shooting? I like target shooting. I'll start target shooting right now. Let's go target shooting. Okay, I get my papers, my documents, and I get my target shooting 22 semi-automatic. I buy a bunch of magazines and ammo, and that's it. Oh, I can have that, but only for sports shooting. Okay, let's go doing the fucking sports shooting. That's fine, no problem. We will do that. But at the same time, if I have no other option and the choices are my family or myself getting killed or defending myself, I will defend myself with a hammer, with an axe, with a kitchen knife, with a stick, or one of those tools as well. And then I will have the explanations for whatever explanations I need to do to the law, right? When the judge, in front of the judge or the law or the police or whoever it is, yeah, it's not the police. You better stay quiet and talk directly with your lawyer if it comes down to that. But I will have the explanations necessary for that. It is about the right to defend yourself. In most civilized societies, you do have that. If you have no way of escaping, running away, no way of avoiding the attack, and the only option you have left is either letting some lunatic kill you or defending yourself, there are horror stories, but in general, in most civilized places, you have a right to defend yourself. Whatever tool you use, that's secondary to that essential right of keeping yourself alive and your loved ones and your family. This is something that I'm perfectly okay with, and whatever the outcome is after making the explanations needed to the law, I'm okay with that, with dealing with that, because I know that I will have avoided the use of force as much as possible up to the point in which I did not have that option anymore. I'm saying all of this keeping in mind that there's super restrictive legislations. Hell, this knife here would be illegal in UK. Why? Because it's a zombie knife. What kind of moron dumb shit is that? Well, it have a saw. So if it has a saw on the back, it's now a zombie knife. That's the law for you guys in UK. Yeah, but that you can still have, and I suggest you do. And get the books that you have, French, Spanish, English. Here I explain the kind of things that you probably will not be able to train where you are when you have such legislations. These are the things I've learned in different classes over the years. The basics always apply, and it's a good idea to know all of these things. Even if you don't even have one of these tools, the idea of knowing how to use it is still crucial. The idea of knowing how to use these things, it may be someone else bringing that firearm to the scenario, and you knowing how to neutralize that, how to cause a jam, how to incapacitate that tool that he's using against you. All of that may end up saving your life one day, okay? See you next time. Take care.